So this is the final look here, and in the last tutorial we left off with just the fluids. Alright, so we got this nice fluid look. We got to add some particles to the mix to make it look more complex, more dynamic. So we're going to be more focusing on these particles. Alright, so they look pretty nice. So let's go ahead and take a preview of these. Looks very nice. It's very, very dynamic structure, and this is the main point of this tutorial pretty much. But we're also going to be creating these trails, which are these professional, nice addition to the particle simulation. And this is going to be some nice techniques in this also. And then we're just going to grade the whole thing. You can see the grade colorizes the whole thing, so we're going to do that too. So let's go ahead and get started with the turbulent particles, and that's what these are right here, the turbulent. So we're going to learn how to create this nice structure. I'm going to go ahead and hide these. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a new solid, and Control Y is a nice shortcut. We'll call these turbulent particles. Alright, let's go ahead and add the particular effect and particular. People keep asking this in the comments. It is a third-party plugin, so it's not going to come default with After Effects. And let's go ahead and move this whole layer back so we can go ahead and start the animation. So maybe just more than a second, because these particles are not going to last more than just 1 second. Alright. That being said, we don't need to have any velocity. I want to make a point very clear that you can't create these nice turbulent structures with velocity, because velocity basically disperses it from its structure, so you can't have velocity, and that's very important. I want to mention the settings are very important for this nice turbulent structure, and we need to turn the velocity down to 0. So let's go ahead and turn this the emitter type to a sphere. Alright, so this is going to be important too. And we want to make sure and turn the emitter size Z to 0, and that's very important for the turbulent structure as well, because if there's depth to it, it's going to get rid of that turbulent structure, so we really need the emitter size Z to be 0. Alright, so now the particles are pretty boring, but we got to lift them up. Go ahead and go to Physics, Air, and let's go ahead and do the Wind Y, maybe minus 400. And then after that, you can kind of adjust their life to give the simulation as much height as you want. So that's what we got so far, pretty boring, and what we really have to do is go to the particles per second and just crank it way up. And I normally do like 10,000. So 10, 1, 2, 3. 10,000. That's a lot of particles. Alright, so what we need to do now is go to the emitter size X and just crank this up, because it needs to be kind of wide. So there we go. You can kind of see the look we're having now. And then we need to turn the size down to like 2. Alright, so that's good. So now we can go ahead and start adding that turbulence to it. So let's go ahead and go to the Physics, Air, Turbulence field and crank up the effect position. We'll maybe go to 400. So that looks very nice. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and turn the fade in time to about 1. So it takes about 1 second for the turbulent to be fully applied. So as it rises, it's going to get more and more distorted. And then what we want to do, something very important for these turbulent structures, is turn the size down. And it's going to make it look a lot better. So let's maybe go for something like 6, maybe 6 or 7. Something like that. So it's going to make it a lot smaller, so we lose a lot of detail, because it scaled everything up, so it scaled up the detail. And to get that detail back, it's going to, see, we lost a lot of detail with the scale, but to get it back, we're going to do it a much better way. Let's go to Octave Multiplier, turn this up to about 1.8, and so now we get the detail back, but it's much better detail now. So this is much finer turbulent detail, so it's going to be a lot better than just keeping really small scale. So now we have a lot better displacement now that we turn down the scale and then turn up the octave multiplier. So we still have that detail, and it looks awesome now. So I really like to go to the evolution speed and turn this down, because see, the evolution with this turbulence field kind of has an unnatural motion, so we really want to turn that down. Let's also do move with wind 100%, because we don't want the particles slipping from the turbulence. Right, the turbulence is supposed to be with the particles, so move with 100%. That's actually important. Alright, so that's looking good. We can go to the effect position, just crank this up a little more if we need to. And now we need to make it fade in from the bottom and fade out at the top. So what we're going to do is go to the particle, go to the size over life. Now you have two options. You have opacity over life and size over life. And I used to do opacity over life, but size over life actually makes the simulation better quality. So I prefer size over life over opacity over life, because it makes it a much better quality simulation. So let's go ahead and fade this in. So now we have it faded in from either side. So to be honest, that's pretty much it. We can turn the Wind Y up if we need to make it a little faster, possibly just to keep up with that fluid simulation. Let's go ahead and turn both of them on. So we have the turbulent particles with the fluid simulation, so it blends very well together. And that's pretty much all this effect amounts to. We have that nice distortion. We have a lot of particles, and it just looks really nice. Now we need to create these nice professional looking colorful trails, and that actually adds a nice addition to these effects. So you look at the original simulation and like, wow, that's like complicated, but it's only like 3 layers, and often you'll find that's the case. Something looks really complicated, but it's like there's like 3 layers of particles together, and it makes it look this nice complex simulation. So it looks pretty sweet. Just these trails, the turbulent particles, and the fluid together makes this nice simulation. So let's go ahead and create these trails, and we're going to have some pretty sweet techniques in this. Let's go ahead and turn it off and hide it. So the first step obviously is to create a new solid, and we'll call this trails, and then add the particular plugin. So let's go ahead and move this down. We'll go ahead and hide all the other layers so they won't get in the way. And faster renders. Let's go ahead and move this back so it's already started. And again, we do not need any velocity. And then we can go to the physics, just off the bat, go to the air and just rise it up, maybe -600. So it rises upwards. So negative, that's something important in After Effects, that negative values rise and positive values go down. Alright, so because it starts from the corner, so positive values go down and negative goes up away from the composition. So we want it to go up, so it's -600. Just go ahead into the particle. They're lasting too long, so maybe about 1 second, something like that. It's just the right amount. There we go. And let's go ahead and start distorting them with our turbulence field. So we're going to turn this up quite a lot. We're going to go about 1,300, so it's like a lot of distortion. Then we're going to go to the scale and turn this down to like 4 or 3. I'm going to go with 4. So let's go ahead and see how it looks so far. Get this pretty nice look there. So now we need to go to the particles per second and change this to about 45. So there's not that many particles being emitted. Back in the turbulence field, we need to turn this octave multiplier back up to get that detail back that we lost when we turned the scale down. So now that you can see these particles are kind of in a stream, and we don't really want that stream. We want them to be kind of everywhere. And how we're going to fix this actually is go to the emitter and change this from point to sphere. Now the point of this is that since they emit from different places, they're going to be distorted in different directions. So it's going to kind of separate the particles and make them look like they're going different directions, which they are because of the place that they were emitted. All right, so now we have that width. Maybe we'll go with 75, 75, 75 for the X, Y, and Z. There we go. Very nice. And so now we gotta emit those trails from these particles. So let's turn this down to about 2, and then we'll turn the size random up to about 50%. So you might already know about this, but Particular has this nice feature called the aux system, which means like auxiliary or secondary system. And basically what this is particles emitting from the particles that exist. All right, so we have the main particles, and that's these particles. But you can, in the aux system, you can actually make particles emit from those. So let's go to emit and do continuously. You can see these are actually particles emitting from the particles that we already have. We're going to turn the particles per second up to about 500. You can see that they create trails. All right, so it's like a trail of particles that are left as the main particles travel. So there's too many streams. All right, we want those other particles, but there's too many streams. Now we could come down here and turn the particles per second down, but we do want those original main particles to still be in there. So what we can do is go to the emit probability, turn this down to about 25. So now it's only going to emit from about 25% of those particles. So there are going to be some particles that don't emit any trails, and the others that do. About 75% of them do not emit trails, and that's about right, because we want about this many trails. So for the type, we want these to be spheres. All right. So the reason why we want them to be spheres is because we want the main particles actually to be cloudlet. All right. So these main particles are going to be cloudlet, make them a little bit bigger. But these that right here are going to be spheres. So let's make sure and set the type to sphere so they won't be the same as main. Let's go ahead and turn the life of these auxiliary particles to be 1. And then we're going to go to the size over life. So the size over life is really where we're going to create that taper to those trails and make them look nice. So this is a very sensitive part, I guess, because we're going to make this really low gradual fade like this. So let's go ahead and click the smooth button right here, and it's going to kind of smooth out our map here. So there we go. That's how we have that taper. And what we're going to do is actually create this kind of cool thing. What we're going to do is just in the middle right here, just create this nice bump right there. So maybe take some of that out. What we're going to do is like smooth this out a little bit. And you can see what it did here is it actually created this little bump in the trail, and it created a nice feature. So let's go ahead and check it out what we got so far. So that created a nice addition to the trail that's falling behind the particles. Alright, so maybe we'll change the size down to about 4. and then the opacity of these particles to be about 25. So you can't really see them. Let's go to full resolution so we can see. Then let's go to the color over life. So this is where the color is going to come in. So I'm going to go ahead, I just want 3 colors, so I'm going to go ahead and grab these and drag them out. Just drag them down to get rid of them. I'll make the first color green. Then the second color will probably be maybe this blue, about 200 hue, 205, 210, something like that. This nice blue sky color. It's nice. I love that color. It's probably one of my favorites. And then for this third color, we're going to make it kind of a pink or purplish pink color. And I think this is a very nice color palette where you have these greens, blues, and purples. Now, at least I think these main particles are a little bit too opaque. What we can do is go to the particle tab, and then let's go ahead and turn the opacity down to about 25 or possibly 20. There we go. So what we can do is go ahead and make these trails more visible, and how we're going to do that is add some glow. So go to the Effects and Presets tab and type in glow. Go ahead and drop this on. Basically what I'm going to do is go to the glow radius, turn this about 1.5, and that's going to make them really visible. So there's going to be pretty visible trails. Let's go to the intensity and maybe do this 0.2. Now let's go ahead and duplicate this glow and change this glow radius to about 25, and then the glow intensity may be good how it is. So this makes the trails really pop out as we add these 2 glows. So there are probably a few fixes I can do for this. Alright, first off, it's too thick down here at the bottom, and how I fixed this last time is go to the physics of the aux system, and then go to the wind effect and do this about 25. So that's going to make them be affected by the wind just a little bit, so they'll kind of float away from that area. So that's a nice way to fix that. What I did along with the glow is add a solid composite effect. So add solid composite, and then just turn this to be black so it has a black background. The reason why we did this is so that we can add a vibrance effect, and this vibrance effect is going to just kind of make the color stand out a little more. So go to saturation, do like 100, so it kind of stands out a little better. Also, one last thing that I did forget is to turn this color. I turned this to like a cyan type color, about middle way here. Just do like a cyan, turquoise color, and that's pretty much our particles. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got so far. So this is definitely a very nice, springy, professional look. I really like the way these particles look. Let's go ahead and composite this into the original. Go to the mode, change both of these to a screen blending mode. There we go. That's going to be, these 3 blended together are going to be very nice. Alright, so that's what we got so far. That doesn't look very bad at all. Also turn the life random right here up to 25 so that they don't end so abruptly at the same spot. I also want you to remember that you can actually go to the random seed here and just choose one that you like. So there's infinite options you pretty much have here. Go to the random seed in the emitter tab, and you can just go ahead and change this up a lot, just whichever simulation you like, and they're all going to be pretty similar. Just change it to one that you find particularly attractive to. Alright, so the next step is going to be add this this colorization to your particle simulation. This is actually a very fun part, and it's pretty easy to do. So let's go ahead and create a new adjustment layer. Control Alternate Y. I use that a lot. Try to remember that. Control Alternate Y to create an adjustment layer. We'll call this colorization. And the first thing, you're going to make sure that there's no transparent background. So if it's like this, it'll be transparent. You do not want that transparent background. How you're going to fix this is actually go to a solid composite effect. Just go ahead and apply this to your adjustment layer. And change this to black. There we go. That's how you fix that transparent background. And after that, you can go ahead and start adding the curves. And this curve is what's going to colorize your effect. Let's go ahead and go to the blue and just go to the gamma of the blue and just rise this. So it's going to add that. Let's go to the red. Go ahead and turn the red down. So the red actually adds more of a cyan look when we turn down that red. And it's actually very appropriate for creating this blue color. Go ahead and go to the green. We're going to add a little contrast, not too much. And we're going to go to the highlights of the green, turn it up, and the shadows, we're going to turn the green down a little bit. So it's that nice contrast. So we got that nice colorization here. We can also go to our RBG and just turn this down to the level we find appropriate, like that. And now we can go ahead and start adding the glows, and glows are very nice. Glows are very attractive. I love adding glows to things. So this is going to be fun. Let's go ahead and add a glow. Go ahead and turn the radius of this up a little bit, like to this. And remember, we're actually in a 32 bits per channel project. And if it's not in 32 bits, just hold alternate and click this until it says 32 bits. So it's probably going to be an 8-bit, just turn it to 32 bits. So, and then this is going to make our glows a lot nicer to work with. So it's very important to turn it to 32-bit. Let's go ahead and turn the intensity down to something very low. And then we're going to go ahead and duplicate this glow. What we're going to do is turn the threshold down quite a bit. Go ahead and and then we're going to turn this glow operation to screen, and perhaps we'll turn the other one to screen as well. Now for this glow, it's not blue enough. It's too kind of a white glow, and we're going to change that. Instead of doing original colors, let's go ahead and do colors A and B. Let's go ahead and turn the color looping to smooth from A to B, and that's the most logical way to do it. And it looks the nicest when you do it from smooth from A to B. And so this works very nice with these colors A and B. So what we're gonna do is go to the color B and do this more of a deep blue color like this. And for the colors A, we're gonna do more of a cyan sky blue color. So when we do this, it actually turns down the intensity quite a bit. Let's go ahead and go to the glow intensity and turn this up. But now we got that nice glow. We can turn this one up if we need to. So there we go, wonderful. Wow, that looks very nice. That turned out to be a very good glow. Looks good. So let's go ahead and take a preview. Alright, that's it. We went over pretty awesome stuff today. Alright, so we went over, in the first tutorial, we went over these fluids, and that was very nice. But today we went over like the particles, creating this nice turbulent structure that blends very well with those fluids. That all this nice turbulence and dynamic motion is very attractive. So we learned how to create those, and this is very useful. That almost looks like fire. You can create this for all kind of energy, awesome stuff like that. So we went over techniques about how you create that. Logically thinking about what settings need to be adjusted so that we can have this, like the velocity. We can't have velocity. We want that nice structure, this tamed structure. We also went over these trails, and I don't know, I just can't get over these. Look like really very nice, I don't know, professional, something you see in a commercial, some kind of fresh spring part. Oh, it looks so nice. So I like these particles too. So I blended those all together and came up with something very nice. We also went over some colorization with some glows, fun business there. So we ended out with this nice particle simulation. So that pretty much ends the entire effect. This was actually pretty easy, even though it looks very complex. It was actually moderately easy to simulate. So make sure and go out, check the first tutorial where you create these fluids, and you may have already seen that. But it's a nice tutorial. We go over some nice way to create fluids with actually particular. So these actually is with particular. Alright, so that's our final effect. Let's go ahead and watch it once more. Beautiful. Oh, look at that. So good. That's the end of this two-part series. Not that long, but it's definitely been fun, guys. If you